George Abraham. You know my partner Albert Cameron. Albert, every year at this time we like to do what we call a March Madness special. You talk about bracket busters, filling out the sheets of integrity. They call them all kinds of different things. But the bottom line is what we want to look at today is the tournament from a distance. Then as we go, we'll zero in on some areas where maybe they did a great job, some areas where they maybe messed up a little bit, and also at the end, you're going to give us your final four.
Yeah, and guys, when you look at it, and when this show comes on, it'll probably be about midway through the tournament. I'm hoping that you have some teams left over, and that you say, okay, we're going to ride what Bottom Line Sports says all the way through.
Don't put Pitt in there. It will save you a lot of time, a lot of money. I could have told you that last month, last week, last decade. Now, Albert, seriously, there were some tough decisions. And usually what it comes down, there are always two or three at the end that if you picked 75, 76, 77, and 78 would be mad. If you picked 85,
doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, but let's look at the three that we thought possibly were being considered. Joe Lenardi had them, what do you call, first out?
First out, first in, that's right. And what happened on this year, that as the tournament sat there and the committee, sat in that room and were deciding to select, it became easy for them this year because Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia all got beat easily. So when they got beat, George, knocked off the line.
Okay, let's talk about it. Kentucky, terrible season, and they're blaming Nerlens Noel, but the truth is they were on the spiral before he got hurt.
Yeah, and that's what the committee looked at. Exactly. If they thought that they were just bad because of that, they would have thought a little more. They were bad all the way through. So Kentucky was out. Tennessee and Virginia were right on the line. Virginia loses 3 games to the CAA or CCA, whatever it is, the Old Dominions League. When you lose 3 times in that league, George, immediately you say, oh, geez, they're not very good. And Tennessee, bad loss to Alabama in the tournament, knocked them out. They got it right. When I look at the committee field, it's the best they've ever done. I thought they got the right teams all the way through.
So really, it wasn't as bad as you thought. Ole Miss won their way in. They would have been another one that was on the bracket, so it wasn't as big of a challenge. And really, they probably did a pretty good job.
No question. And when you looked at it, I was so happy to see Middle Tennessee get in. Middle Tennessee had a tremendous year, dominating their league, got upset in the tournament. They deserved to get in. They had won games by 25 or 30 points, 6 or 7 of them. They dominated, and the congratulations for them, for them to get into the tournament.
Let's talk about that, though. Middle Tennessee, a lot of the big boys say 28 wins, but Virginia says, hey, if they played in the ACC, there'd be no 28 wins.
Oh, yeah, and they wouldn't have 28 wins. You're right. But Virginia, 3 losses to teams that Middle Tennessee would crush, put them out, so they can't say anything. The big boys will always have that answer. That's going to be the common thing every year. I'm very happy because this year there was not some teams on the line that had great years. This is a weak year. They had nothing to say this year. Maryland played a lousy schedule. I knew they were out, even though they beat Duke twice. You cannot play Division II teams, 3 or 4 of them or whatever, and expect to get in the tournament.
Albert, talk to me a little bit about Memphis. 30 wins. They got Doogie Howser down there coaching. He looks like he's about 28 years old. Does a nice job. He took over when Calipari went to Kentucky. But seriously, giving them a 6, are they one of the top 24 teams in the country?
No, I didn't think so. And their league is so poor. I would have had them on the 9 line. They had them on the 6 line. We'll see how far Memphis goes. I think they'll get knocked out in one of the first 2 rounds. I won't be surprised. As a 6th seed, they go out.
Let's talk a little bit about another surprise, possibly Gonzaga. Gonzaga, now obviously a great year. 2 losses, Albert. 1 at home to Illinois, 1 on the road to Butler without Butler's best player. Do you think maybe a 2 was a little bit high, or did they reward maybe their last 10 years of work?
Well, here's what happens. Gonzaga definitely deserved number 1. But when you look at it, I look at it from a back door in. Miami of Florida won the ACC tournament and also won the regular season, and they were the first pick on the 2nd line. I really believe it. Miami of Florida across this here,
Duke.
It said Duke. They would have been on the 1 line, and Gonzaga would have been on the 2 line.
Let's talk about the number ones. Let's talk about the number ones, then we'll do the seeded 2 highs and the seeded 2 lows. Okay? Let's look at the ones first. Louisville, you have no complaint with
No, they
Louisville.
were the number one team in the country, no question.
Albert, can they win it all?
Oh, George, everybody's picking them.
I'm not.
If you have 50 brackets, I'd say 28 of them have Louisville on it.
I don't know why I would pick Kansas, Indiana, Gonzaga. There's something about Louisville that last what?
What don't you like on them, Anything special?
A little bit careless with the ball, Siva in crunch time. They bad shoot you in or out. In other words, they're never up or down.
That's Russell Smith. He does do that. Yep.
And I don't know why. I'll take a Kansas with big monsters inside that'll pound you in the boards. I'll take an Indiana who you have to score 90 to beat, and Gonzaga with those monster posts. Let's take them apart. How about Kansas?
Well, and Kansas is the team is the number one that everybody's overlooking, and don't overlook them because they have 5 seniors playing. Anytime you have a senior lineup with Bill Self on the bench, you have a great chance of winning. The Jayhawks had that bad loss to TCU, but from that they've recovered and went on a great roll. Tied for the league regular season championship, won the conference. Kansas definitely deserves a number one.
Now, Indiana, someone asked me, they called me on the phone, they said, do you think that it was one of these bad teams? I said, you have to score 90.
Yeah, they're going to run them down the floor. That's the way Crean plays. And they're going to play, and they also play good defense. The thing is, they shoot a lot of threes. And anytime you shoot a lot of threes and they're not going in, there's a chance that you can be upset. Indiana was not playing their best at the end of the year. We're going to see if they go from the beginning where they were playing great or how they finished. Very interesting how he gets them ready.
Now Gonzaga, the big post man, the kid with the ponytail, he's a murderer around that basket.
Yeah, they also have an excellent backcourt with Bell leading the way. I really like this Gonzaga team. If they were in a stronger league, they would even be seated. They would have been thought of higher. It's just their league was so weak that but they deserve the number one.
Now here's one that caught your attention, and I'll agree. When you win the ACC and you win the ACC tournament, you're automatically in number one.
We talked about that one.
And Miami got it too. That's Larinaga, but you know Larinaga, he's going to have his guys ready.
Always. He's always ready to play. And Miami is the team that I thought would get knocked out early. We'll see what happens.
You guys who don't know, Larinaga was at George Mason, took them a mid-major to the Final Four. He's a Dave Gavitt disciple, and as the Big East basically collapses and redefines itself, here's Larinaga, a former helper of Dave Gavitt. Now, let's look at your guys that you think are seeded too high. The Running Rebels of Las Vegas. They have a 5, which means top 20 in the country.
Yeah, they lost to Fresno State twice. And I even used the Fresno twice. They got knocked out. They lost in the championship tournament to New Mexico. I haven't seen them do anything special to get a number 5. It was just that their league, the Mountain West, was thought of so highly, George, they put them as a number 5 seed. I don't see it. I think they should have been a 7 or 8 seed. I'll be shocked if UNLV goes farther than 2 rounds.
So, Albert, they only had 1 victory away from Thomas and Mack. In case people don't know, the arena in Vegas, Thomas and Mack, is where they play their home games and the tournament.
Yes.
Well, that's a big advantage, is it?
Oh, you're not. And the committee is supposed to look at road victories, and they sure didn't look at UNLV's because they had none but 1. They only had 1, so they do not deserve that. Mistake for the committee.
They overrated.
Yes.
And you're saying they're going out.
I think in the first
second
2 rounds.
Round?
One of the first 2
Albert,
rounds.
sometimes you're in a league, and the league gets credit, and you kind of get pulled through.
You do.
Like Billis
do,
was
no
saying
question.
today. Billis said, look, I have no trouble with doing that. But don't tell me it's who we beat. It's who we played.
Yeah, and that's the way it works. And this year, the Big Ten pulled Minnesota up with them. Minnesota, who 11-6, lost 5 games of the last 16, and you're thinking, how the heck did they get in there? The Big Ten pulled them up.
All right, now, too low. I hope you're right. Oregon,
Oh, no
by
question.
12.
No question. There's no doubt about it. A team that won the Pac-12 tournament, a team that was in the race all year, lost their point guard when they went down. He came back. Oregon is definitely not a 12 seed. I heard the committee said they were 11 seed. They had to move back because of the logistics of
where they were playing.
Locations or something.
Okay.
But they're definitely a 7 or 8 seed. Look out for Oregon. They got a tough draw at Oklahoma State because of their seed. They get by Oklahoma State, they can do some damage.
They beat UCLA on a neutral. This UCLA, Albert, are we saying goodbye to Ben Howland?
Well, what happened was that UCLA, you got to give him credit. He won it, and Adams got hurt. His best player got hurt.
Okay.
So when your best player gets hurt, I know Dixon's going to leave Pitt. There's no doubt in my mind. He's going to take the Southern Cal job. It'll be very interesting if Howland, who that pressure every day at UCLA comes back to Pitt. Didn't Peterson hire him before, George? I think Peterson hired him before at Pitt. I think he'll rehire him again.
No.
I think Holland's coming back.
No way.
That's what I think.
Boy, now you heard it here first. I know one thing. They would quit my place once. He would never get a second chance. Now, the matchups. They say they don't look at them, but you can bet Patino would have played his kid if they were in there.
Yes.
Now let's look at some of those. Kansas wins their opening game. Now, Carolina has to beat Villanova, which isn't a must, but of all the teams for Carolina in that four-guard offense, Villanova's not a big post presence either.
No, they're not. They're very similar how they play.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is, hey, Roy Williams coached at Carolina and Kansas. If North Carolina gets by Villanova, I think that committee thought, hey, this is a great draw for TV, a great draw for everybody to see. If Carolina meets Kansas round 2, that's excitement for college basketball. I really think they had a look at that one a little bit, George.
Now let me ask you, Roy Williams. You know he's going to be crying. I mean, Roy's going to be having some tears, right? Something's going to make Roy cry. I don't know if it's leaving Kansas or Carolina or what, but this is going to get old Roy crying.
Yeah, he is. And this matchup, he still does a lot of things for Kansas because he loved it when his stay out there. George, the matchup though is very interesting because Kansas is strong inside. Carolina is strong in the guard play, but not so fast. There's no guarantee they're getting by Villanova. I just think the bracket committee saw that as an excellent tool for CBS.
It makes sense. Now, the easiest path to the Final Four, you think the Zags have it?
Yeah, I really do. And everybody's saying, wait a minute. They were the fourth number one. Why'd they get it? Well, Ohio State's played great, but they only have one post, and they struggle scoring. They go for stretches scoring. Kraft is going to play great. Thomas is going to play great. You know, I see Ohio State is not a great number 2 like other people says they are. There's no lottery picks in it playing.
Well, let's talk about Ohio State. I mean, Kraft's good. He's blood and guts, hard-nosed. He'll get under your fingernails and such, but that's not a lottery pick team.